Hey, what's up, you guys? Marty Schwartz here, guitarjams.com. Happy to be bringing you another lesson. It's another one of my blues lessons, and I'm actually answering a question from Facebook. I picked 5 questions on Facebook to make videos on, and each one of those 5 people that I picked get to win my Blues Masterclass DVD set, which you can actually, it's on sale right now. You can see the link down there for that Blues Masterclass DVD set, as well as the link for the Guitar Jams Facebook pages down there. A lot of fun asking and interacting with you guys on Facebook. Here is the question that I'm going to do a lesson on right now. It's from Scott Millard, and congratulations, you won the Blues Masterclass DVD set, Scott. Your question, or Scott's question, was, going to the 4 chord with the key change is one of the more difficult things to get a hold of in phrasing. Setting it up in the measure prior and then nailing that 3rd, flat 7th on the first beat is difficult to get a feel for. Lots of questions about phrasing in here, so it'd be nice to throw this in. Well, I'm going to zoom in onto the guitar here and just show you some, obviously a 10-minute lesson is not going to master the blues for you, but we're going to zoom in. I'm going to answer and try and give you some tips on playing over the changes in the blues a little bit more than just sticking to the pentatonic scale. So congratulations, Scott, and let's zoom in and do it. Here we go. All right, so this relates actually a little bit to the last one, which was kind of more advanced than this one, or don't have to think of it that way. But what we kind of want to look at is playing over the blues, but kind of phrasing and playing over those changes. The question was like, when you go to the 4 chord, how do you know? It's hard to hit those notes, blah, blah, blah. So what we want to start with, and we're just going to stay in A blues, but what we'd like to start with is just the 3 chords, A7, the 4 chord is D7 or D9 is what I'm playing here, and the 5 chord I'm playing E9. So each 3 of those chords actually can have its own scale, but typically in blues we kind of think of it still as it's kind of in the, all in the key of A, but then we can emphasize sounds that sound good over each of the 3 blues chords. So what I would say first is, no matter what, when you're playing the blues, if you ever get lost, you just got your trusty old minor pentatonic scale. You've got your blues scale, which is just adding a note. Your, extension. This little box up here is amazing. Right? So you can play those concepts, and I would suggest you get really comfortable with those before you're worrying about playing over the changes, okay? Because that's kind of what, because that's what's going to kind of get you through everything, and I use that as just kind of my backdrop, and then more than anything, your ear is going to be able to eventually hit those sweet little notes in there that will emphasize each of the chord changes. So technique 1, as far as playing over the 3 blues chords, one technique would be using some A major pentatonic licks over the 1 chord. So the A major pentatonic would be right here, or this little box. You should know them for this lesson. Go back and learn them if you're not that comfortable. But a real cool spot for it, where we're still kind of in this A box here, would be 6 right there, and then 5-7, and then 5-7. And so one technique could be playing more A major pentatonic licks whenever it's on A7. And then when it's on the 4 chord, you play the A minor pentatonic and as well as the blues scale. And that contrasts the chord changes, and it sounds real good, and it sounds traditional. You hear a lot of guys do that, okay? So, okay, and then when it's on the 5 chord, you can actually do either scale. But I'd say for this first concept, play the A major pentatonic for the 1 chord, and then the other 2 chords, you're going to play the A minor pentatonic scale. So that's the 1 chord, it's major pentatonic. Now I'm going to go to that A minor pentatonic. Back to the major. Now the 5 chord, back to the minor. So just over that A, I'm playing the major pentatonic. So forth and so on. So, and if the more spots you know how to play that major pentatonic, the more diverse your licks can be, and as well as the minor pentatonic. So that's just one kind of basic thing that you can work with. Another thing that I want to show you now, though, are the arpeggios for the chords, because those are the strongest notes. It doesn't mean the arpeggio in the blues. Just because you know the arpeggio, it doesn't mean that you're just going to play that arpeggio as your solo now. Not at all. One, it's just really important to know, to expand your knowledge of the fretboard. But then also, even just visualizing the arpeggio will at least show you the most strongest notes that you can emphasize and play melodies around. So for this A7, and for those of you that don't even know what an arpeggio is, it's just when you take the notes of a chord and you play them one at a time instead of all together. So like an A7 chord is this. The simplest arpeggio of that would just be, just going. But what I'm going to show you is a way to actually pick it through. Middle finger on the root. So that's the 5th fret. Sorry. So we got 5, and then we've got 4 on the A string, and then 7 on the A string. That's just a major triad arpeggio right there. Then index finger onto the 5th of the D to 7. That is an A7 arpeggio. Then 6 on the G. Then 5 on the B. Then 8 on the B. And then the root 5. And we'll just stop right there. So those are all the only notes being in this chord. But when you're doing a solo, it doesn't mean it doesn't mean that, but knowing it is half the battle. No, but so that's the arpeggio, right? Let's just take a little piece of it. The 5 and the 7. And then let's take the 6 of the G. But now let's add a blues flavor by hammering up to that 6 of the G from the 5. We're just. Okay. can add that note, which is from the pentatonic. So not thinking of one scale anymore, I just went up and played that same arpeggio shape that I was doing for A, and I went up and did it where it was for the D7. Instead of the D9, I just did right here. And then the E. See that? But you can actually stay in one spot and learn those arpeggios. And then what you can do is just, pop in some of those arpeggio notes, not necessarily play the whole arpeggio through when you're soloing, but hit some of those notes, and it takes a little practice. Hey, what a shock. Let's put a little time into it to make it all work, but you got this 7 arpeggio here. And if you want to get super bonus points, we can go all the way up to the 9th of the high E. That's the next note. And you can slide into it too. Sorry. Fail. Hey, it happens to be that same hammer-on note. So that E-rooted 7-chord arpeggio. Let's do the D7 arpeggio, but we're going to just do it right in the same position. That way, we're not even having to move around to kind of know where those emphasis notes are. And some of them are not in that A minor pentatonic. So the arpeggio would be, it starts the same way. You got the root right here, 5th of the A string, 5, 4, 7. So it's scooted over. The A starts here. Check out this bass line. Hey, arpeggios. So let's get back to the D. D is the root. 5, 4, 7, 5, 7. Let's keep going. It's going to be only one note on the B string, and it's the 7th. So it's a little weird, but you have to go. Then to finish it off, we want the 5 to the 8 on the high E. And sometimes what I like to do when I'm kind of visualizing that arpeggio, I like to cover all 3. So if it's over the D chord, I would cover all 3 and then hammer on. It's not really an arpeggio anymore, it's more of a chord, but I see that arpeggio there. And I hammer the 7th fret of the B as I'm covering the 5th fret of the G, B, and high E. Now, one thing, sorry, I was talking. One more time. 5, 4, 7, 5, 7, 7, 5, 8. Lots of notes from the minor pentatonic are in there, but not necessarily all of them. So the E arpeggio for the 5 chord, we're just going to take that same one we learned here and just scoot it up a whole step. So watch, I'll play through the basic 12-bar blues, only using the arpeggio. No backing track, nothing, right? Just as a practice tool. Now the 4 chord. 1 chord. Oh, see, I'm transitioning, not necessarily on that low E. I'm seeing it. Okay, now the 5 chord. I didn't get to finish it because I could hear that the chord was going to change before I could play through the whole arpeggio. Okay, now I'm going to just do it again, but I'm not going to talk out loud. I'm just going to play through the arpeggios, but not necessarily start on the low root. Okay, but I'm only going to be playing notes of those 3 arpeggios. So those are some tips. You know, you're going to have to dig a little deeper down the rabbit's hole. But I think it's worth it, especially if you just take it one little piece at a time. So good luck. All right, hope you had fun with that. I really appreciate the support. Remember the Guitar Jams Facebook page. There's a link down there for it. You know, always interacting on there. And then also my Blues Masterclass DVD set's on sale right now. And you can actually check the link down there to see what's in that. Thank you so much for the support. I had a lot of fun doing this. I'm going to do it again in the future. Anyway, we'll talk to you real soon. Take care.